Hockney has said that as an artist, he needs a subject to inspire him. Back in the 1960s, when he painted some of his most famous work, the subject in art was less fashionable. Abstraction prevailed. Hockney, however, preferred representations of real people. Openly gay, he had no qualms about depicting young men as objects of homosexual desire. He moved to California in 1964, where they had a more relaxed attitude to homosexuality, and painted inspiring works such as Man Taking a Shower in Beverly Hills. Hockney loved America and stayed there until recently, when he moved back to his native Yorkshire. After her Oscar nomination, Imelda was hot property, but she's turned down a number of big Hollywood parts. I wonder whether LA is ever likely to feature in the couple's future plans. You were mentioning California. Have you ever, as it were, wondered if you would like the Hollywood lifestyle yourselves?
Hollywood lifestyle, not really for us, as it's not really our cup of tea. The only time we went, really, was because Imelda was nominated for an Oscar for Vera Drake, so we went out for that.
But, I mean, there was never a time when either of us thought, oh, let's go and go out there and see what happens for 6 months. Because I suppose we were very lucky that we worked here. We sort of had work.
When we started, that wasn't an option. I mean, you either did theatre or you... I mean, when I started in the early 70s, I didn't know anybody who did TV. I mean, everybody did theatre, and then you got to know some television actors, and then you started to work in films yourself. But that going and sitting around touting yourself around the agents is a soul-destroying sort of job, and you just get on with your life and work, you know.
Yeah.
But you said that with the Oscar, all that hype, you were glad that it happened to you at a certain age, because if it happened to you when you were a 19-year-old, it would have turned your head, because... you know, people are telling you, oh my God, you're the greatest, and you know, if you listen to that rubbish, it can sort of distract you, really.
I don't mind it, of course, when you say it, my darling.
No, my darling.
No, it's fantastic if you're out there being successful. I can imagine there's nothing more soul-destroying, as you said, than being out there in a town that really, its currency is success. And you have nothing in your pocket, and I couldn't cope with that. I'd rather be I'd rather be at home, and B, in a way, I think English actors, you know, we've got a bit of radio, telly, film, theatre. We have a lot of
portrait painting.
Portrait painting. that we can turn our hand to, hopefully, and.
It's also, I mean, in LA, and I'm not knocking it, but it is a business town, and all they do is talk about the business, and actually we don't want to talk about the business the whole time.
David Hockney had nightmares with the feet. And I think the answer was there in front of him all the time. You just buried them in the carpet, so you didn't have the problem with toes and, you know, all those little joints and things that's so easy to get wrong. And that's what I'm doing here. There's so much going on in this painting, and I've a lot still to do. Jim's face is looking okay, but I'm worried the expression isn't loving enough. And they are a very affectionate couple. I'm going to need to get Imelda exactly right. The way Hockney used paint was all about making the painting hyper-realistic, vibrant colours applied in solid, flat blocks, simple, geometric and utterly uneventful. That's just the tiniest little tweak. She's coming. She's coming. Yeah, actually that isn't too bad at all. Hockney created problems for himself by positioning his sitters right in front of a window. It's easier for the artist if the light source comes from the side and you can't see it. In this portrait, the light came straight out of the middle of the painting. Contre-jour actually means against the light. So the faces are always darker, and in David Hockney's case, redder. In my case, they're actually darker because you're looking at them in profile against the light. One of the things I'm doing, that he did, to get Imelda's features right, is to actually use the white outline as the light actually just hits the profile, and that gives me a sense of the profile. and also a sense that the light is actually striking just the edge of her face. That's better, that's better. They're actually starting to look at each other. It's just... I'll take that nostril down a little bit. I've got a very watery colour here, very watery indeed, which I'm using as a glaze. And I'm now going to apply this across Imelda's face here. Because it's very watery, or in the case of oil paint, very oily, it's transparent. So you can see all the work that's underneath coming through.
I could keep going forever, but if I haven't captured the essence of Jim and Imelda by now, I never will.
Imelda, I think that's as far as I can go with the faces for now. So would you like to go back and freshen up, and then I'll come and show you what we've got?
You're not going to put other people's faces on it, are you?
No, absolutely not.
We'll
No.
tiptoe past without looking
Yeah,
at
yeah,
it.
yeah,
then.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll
Yes,
save
please,
it.
we
yeah.
will.
Looking,
Okay,
not looking,
thank
not
you.
looking, not looking, not looking.
It's quite good, it's quite good.
Oh, no,
No, we're not looking. No, don't want to look. No.
I'm going to leave the faces alone now, and I just need a few minutes on the rest of the painting. Hockney loved a self-reference, and he chose to put one of his own works, an etching, called Meeting the Good People, Washington, on the Clark's wall.
It is interesting that Hockney chose to put a Hockney in a Hockney. This was a limited edition print that was either given to Ozzy or Celia, but was already part of their collection when the painting was undertaken.
Artists have been including themselves in paintings throughout history. Hockney may well have been making a cheeky reference to another famous couple portrait, Van Eyck's Arnolfini marriage, when the artist reflects himself in the mirror. As for the cat, we can't leave the painting without discussing him. Ozzy himself remembers turning up on the day Hockney was due to take photographs, and the cat, called Blanche, just jumped up on his lap. Hockney later renamed him Percy, maybe because it sounded nicer. I'm not going to bother with the cat, as it says nothing at all about Jim and Imelda's relationship. I just hope the couple will think I've done their relationship justice.
I mean, we're separated, one sitting, one standing. There's a block of light in between us, but we'll just see if the way he's got us in profile makes us connect with each other.
It's been quite tough today, really. But I think the changes we've made from the Hockney to this one reflect the change in the relationship between the two protagonists in both portraits.
I feel a little bit apprehensive, but also on his behalf, I'm feeling apprehensive for him, actually, more than us, because he's done all the work.
And he's the guy under pressure because he's been able to work incredibly fast. So, you know, I hope he's happy with it. You know.
Here we've got a bridge across the verticals, and that is the friendly look between the two people. That's crucial, and that makes the difference. So instead of being a kind of a precursor of a split-up, I think this painting is suggesting that there's a long way to go for a really rather splendid, loving relationship.
Okay, that one we know. This is new.
Well, first of all, can I say what a great pleasure it was working with you today? It really was too.
Thank you very
Thrilled
much.
to meet you both. Come again.
Well, hey.
Gosh, golly, that is you.
Absolutely.
I can't tell. I think that is me. It is me.
It is you. Now, do you think that the changes we've made
Yes.
reflect the difference in
Yes, I
the
do.
relationship?
Really
I do
do.
too. And I love the sort of sense that we've got eye contact here
Absolutely.
between
Yeah.
you.
And I look tall.
And you do.
Tall.
You do.
Elegant.
Yeah.
Statuesque.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very
What a
much
thrill.
indeed.
Please,
Thank
thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Yeah.
What a thrill.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah.
He's totally captured our relationship as opposed to the Clark's relationship. There's a lovely benign quality, I think, to that. And to me, I look at that and I think there's a private moment going on that no one knows about. And I think a great sort of love and respect going on in there. Marvellous.
Which is great because it makes it his own rather than, you know, it's not a Hockney, it's a John Mayer, and with us in it, which is great. Fantastic.
Well, today was tough, particularly with such a complex painting to try and capture in one day. What it took Hockney 9 months to do was really quite a big ask. In fact, personally, I think the people who think that you can do that should be stripped naked and lashed through the streets until they drop. However, the most important thing for me was, in the end, the same thing as was critical for David Hockney, and that is to capture the nature of the relationship between the two sitters. What I saw was a happy, loving, married relationship, a thing of joy shared between the two of them. And I hope I captured that in my painting.
Well, Stephen Fry's in the frame next week at 8. Back to tonight, and this is a homecoming gig to end all homecoming gigs. Oasis are live at the City of Manchester Stadium. That's tonight at 9.